Well, hello, YouTube. This is Campaign Train. I'm your host, That Guy Cross. Tonight, I'm going to be working on my pirate ship again. It's not pirate ship, it's just a ship. I keep saying pirate ship because, well, pirates. So, but I'm going to be working on my ship again tonight. And a couple other things. Wow, Elsie and Mrs. Lynn already here. Hello. Jumping in early, like quick, with the quickness. Okay, I got about like 8 or 9 things to go over really quick, and then I will get into the shipness. For anybody who's never been here before, I have really cool chilled out streams where I craft things. Oh no, they're fighting over who to be first in my chats. Oh well, I'm sure you were both here at exactly the same time. LC's just came through first. See, look at me being diplomatic. So I have really chill chats on Sundays. I try never to go more than an hour and a half. Starting last week, I finally got around to building a ship on a camera. I've built ships before, but it has been a while. So been working on that. Been heck of a week. I've got like 10 or 12 things going on. So I'm going to jump straight to the side cam, turn on that light because I never like to blind y'all with it, and then get into it. I've got several things going on. Yeah. I'm just going to jump into it. So if you've never been here before, welcome. Glad to have you. If you've been here 100 times before, welcome. Glad to have you. If you are one of my returning campaigners, just know that I have a special place and where I would have a heart if I had one for you. All right, let's jump into it. I got to turn on this camera, and then I got to turn on the light because if I turn on the light first, it blinds the other camera. So, we've been through this before. Oh, that didn't work. Let there be light. There it is. Okay. It's always that big flash, and then it chills out for a second. Okay. Now, if you've been paying attention to the Discord, then you know that I have cut a few tiles this week. These are the ones I started a couple weeks ago, and they were all long sticks, and I cut all of the long sticks into tiny little pieces, and these will be surface tiles to put down for, like, city streets and nightly royal courts and that sort of thing. So these will all be tiles for that. Built a few of those. I can always use more tiles and bricks, so I have no direct, distinct, specific project for these. However, I have them now when I need them. In addition, I also tend to make some bigger bricks, some bricks that are this same size, that's 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter, or 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and then are 2 centimeters long. These are only 5 to make them a tile. So that makes a pretty good sized brick. But I also sometimes use some smaller bricks. So towards that end, I did start to cut some of those. So these are roughly 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter blanks, and these will be cut into 10 millimeter bricks. So more cutting coming. But for now, I have put the brick cutter machine away. I have put it back on its shelf. It was sitting over, no, you can't see that, but it was sitting over that way for 3 weeks or whatever. Okay. Like, share, and subscribe. Please do that. Also, after the video, please refresh the screen and give me a comment. That stuff tends to drive the algorithm, gets this out there to more people. There's other ways to support the channel if you want. I've got a Patreon, things like that. But really, I just like to have more people come and see what I'm doing. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you think about it. Okay, so Trent from Miscast this week has been organizing some stuff because he's in a new space. And one of the things he came across is his bones. And he has a box of bones. His is kind of cooler than mine. His flips open and is like shiny metal on the inside. I don't have that. However, I have this tray of bones. Nothing in this tray is real. But I do have some real bones, some of which I can't find. I don't think they crawled away or anything. I'm not quite that necromantic. But I've never really liked this tray. I wanted the tray for other things. Love the tray. Don't like it for this. So I have been cleaning and organizing a bit myself, and I have an entire empty big boy box. So this is going to get my bones. So we're going to go over this just because I think it's funny. Rat skeleton. Skeletons don't have ears. Why does the rat skeleton have ears? It's always baffled me. I have some like Mardi Gras beads, but spooky, and these are skeleton or skulls and I don't know, femurs or tibias or something. Anyway, those are bones as well. These are actually really hard to paint because they're so glossy, so you kind of have to sand them or put some kind of primer on them. But I'll figure out something to use these for. I'll make scary catacombs or something at some point. So those are going in there. My rats are going in there. I also have, of course, the ubiquitous spider and scorpion skeletons, which don't even actually have endoskeletons. So why do these have bones? I don't know. These will probably get cut up and used for other things. These will turn into other critters at some point. This guy looks like he's been bandaged up, but it's just to keep his tail with him because it kept falling off. All right, I have a bunch of spiders. So I've decided I'm going to put my spooky stuff in with as well. Oh, these are glow in the dark, and now they're right in front of the light. So these will be glowing in the box. That'd be funny. I'm also putting my spooky stuff in with my bones. Lizard bones. Itty bitty tiny creepy unicorn bones. I've got several of those in apparently 2 iterations because they have totally different paint on the eyes. Oh, wow, it looks the same on camera. Doesn't look the same in person. Anyway, those are going in the box. Another rat with ears. Oh, another glowy. So I don't know why I'm charging him up with a light. I'm about to toss him in a box and not look at him tonight. So what else have we got with bones? Okay, and last but not least in here, I have, let go of the bag. Let go of the bag. Let go of the bag. Bats, which are also sort of rodents, sort of, they're not really, but also with the ears, because, you know, why not? How else is a skeleton bat gonna echolocate, I guess? Doesn't have any vocal cords, but whatever. All right, so that's 2 trays on a bag, empty. Okay, bones. I have this little specimen box I carry around for all sorts of stuff. It just happens to have these in here to keep them safe. I'm going to put those in something else. I have been sort of collecting wishbones for a while. Don't know why. These are chicken. This one's a turkey. It's not even from last Thanksgiving. It's from like 2023. It's just been, they've been sitting in this little bin upstairs, and I finally got them downstairs. So this is going back in my pocket. These are going into some other container. Alrighty, spooky stuff. While I'm doing spooky stuff, I also have these chain of lights, and they light up purple, and they look kind of cool, but I have no idea if I'll actually get these up before Halloween or not. But for me, spooky season starts November 1st, so it's always spooky season. So those will get put up at some point. They may or may not be visible on camera when I do that. I'll set those over here because they don't go the same place as the bones. Let's go find a bone box for those. All right, as I ask every week, curious if anybody's out there crafting or if you're just hanging out. So if you are crafting, let me know. If you're just hanging and chilling, let me know. Always curious what's going on in the wider world of campaign terrain. And I cannot find a simple, small box for those bones. Huh. Alrighty, I guess I'll use that one for now. Since I also have a jar of chicken bones somewhere that have been properly cleaned and all of that sort of thing, and those will probably end up in the same what's that, pencil lead in the same container as these bones. But for now, this will keep these safe in the larger box. Okay, 2 things left, and then we'll get into actually building the ship. So I collect a lot of plasticky bits that I never know what I'm going to use them for. These ends up being like, this is just a busted up coat hanger, but I tend to use these pieces as plumbing, support shafts, like pillars, that sort of thing. But I saw this one sitting like at a weird angle earlier, and it occurred to me, this looks like the Vault Hunter symbol from Borderlands video games. So I was thinking, well, that'll make a pretty cool portal. So at some point, I will cut out these pieces here and turn this into a portal. But that is not today. That's just random happenstance, found it on the way down the stairs. Okay. We are almost to my ship. But first, a different ship. I got this at a thrift store. This is the Fisher Price. This one actually is a pirate ship. It's got a little pirate Scully on it and everything. It's upside down from the camera there, but you can see it. I thought about converting this, and I will at some point convert this. It is just about a good size for a typical wargaming mini or tabletop gaming mini. They are it's a little bit large. Like, let me grab one of my little guys. Yep. Where's the main one? Here's the main one. Okay, as you can see, he looks fine. Whoop, as you can't see, as you can see, he looks fine on the deck. That railing's a little tall, though. If you're worried about line of sight, yeah, he's got none. His eyeballs are right staring at that railing, but it's close enough. Rule of cool and all that. So at some point, this will get converted. My favorite part of this is the big honking cannon. This is so funny to me because this cannon will actually fire a mini a pretty good distance. It's kind of funny. I'm not going to do that because, well, I've already broken this guy's helmet once. I don't know that that's how it happened, but let's not do that. But there are parts on this that I will take off and change and alter and things like that. One, I probably will make this railing shorter because, you know, the cannon's going to go because in my fantasy world, there's no gunpowder. So the cannon's going to go. I think I'm going to take the piratey looking logo off the front because that looks like it'll be fun somewhere else. And there's this super badass dragon-y looking form here on the front. And I think that would look magnificent in a temple rather than on a ship. So, yeah, thinking of doing that. So, but always look at your thrift stores. One, your thrift stores always help somebody out. They're in England, they're more appropriately called charity shops, which is what most of them are in the United States as well. So there's almost always a charity going on, etc. And this entire ship, I could probably sell this ship in the condition it's in, since all the stickers are on it, even though it's missing all of the figures and everything. I could probably sell this for $60 or $70 because it's in demand because they don't make it anymore. But I got it for like $3. I think it was, yeah, $2.99. Well, you can't see that, but I got this for $3. I don't know if you can see that, but man, whatever. So always keep an eye out at thrift stores because, well, saves you money and gives a little back to the community. So, oh, I forgot, more spoopy stuff, and these are going in the bones as well. I do have some spiders that are not bones. I have some spiders that don't glow. In fact, I mean, maybe they would under disco lights because they're all covered in glitter. That's kind of cool. I've got more bats. So I've got 2 sets of bats of little, these hair clips. Yeah, basically these are hair clips. So more spooky stuff going in the box. So that has now gone in the box. And look, another empty tray. So, alrighty, you're gonna sit there for now, buddy. All right, where were we last week? We left off with this and this, which I will get to as soon as I look at the, holy cow, y'all have been talking. Technical difficulties. Yeah, it looks like it. It says everything you're posting, Mrs. Lynn, says is posting twice. It says tried first and failed, tried first and failed. It says I'm having technical difficulties. I hope they're working out. Big lightning storm. Ooh, yeah. Down there on the coast. It's gonna be, yeah, the storms they get a storming. LC loosely collected says craft-wise, I have shifted gears, cleared gaming projects from the shop, cleaned and made space, and pulled the Halloween stuff out to get ready for the yard by the end of the month. Yeah, get spoopy with it. Dang it, no real bones. I do have some real bones. Like I said, I had the wish bones are real, and somewhere I've got a jar, excuse me, of chicken bones that are literally from like my lunch 3 or 4 times. I boiled those down to get them nice and clean, and I let them dry out really well, and then I let them sit out long enough to, you know, they're clean, they're good. They're probably too clean to actually do necromantic stuff with, but you know, whatever. Okay, too bad you can't make a road trip to Barberville Yard Art Emporium. Yeah, a collection of 6-foot-tall aliens you can dress up for Halloween. That would be super cool. Let's see. Best Halloween decorations. Made a lot of stuff and remake a lot of stuff. Instagram account for just our yard and Halloween stuff. That is super cool. Hey, Sim Peasant. Sim Peasant is Sim Peasant on here on YouTube, and has been speaking of spooky stuff, has been doing a sort of it's totally not Hogwarts thing on The Sims. So her little character is doing magical school stuff. Yeah, glitter. I know, right? Glitter, the gift that keeps on giving and giving and giving. Had a friend bonked me with a wand one time. I know it was the wand because it was the only green glitter I was exposed to. And I got hit with the glowy green looking glitter, and I genuinely was finding pieces of it like more than a year later. So he's like, "Why is your hair sparkly?" And picked at my scalp. I'm like, "Why do you have glitter?" I was like, "Holy crap!" Yeah, totally not Hogwarts. It's totally not Hogwarts. Don't tick off the Hogwarts. Okay, so last week I made a platform which is going to be, that's the gap that will be under my decks so that the other decks can sit on top of them. Now, this bottom deck doesn't need to sit on anything, but continuity's sake, I'm going to make it the same height. So that is, I had, and there they are. Okay, sorry. You don't need to know. I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, so this is the deck I made last week. This, I glued to this piece of cardboard just to make it more rigid, and it still has the paper on top. I'm about to peel that off for reasons. And last week I left that sitting on my flat board because my table has a bit of a bow to it. You can see it flexing there. So I left that on my flat board with stuff on top of it, and that's where we left off last week. So let's start there this week. I need this piece under this piece just to keep it at the right elevation. Now, in preparation for this, as I told y'all before, I'm going to make all of my decks 2.5 inches tall, but they're going to have this gap here and then this here. So they're actually going to be a little bit less than 2 inches on the inside, which means that technically my figures will be barely able to fit in there. But since the top deck will have been lifted off of that by the time they appear in there, no one's going to notice. And you could just say, you know, they're ducked down or whatever. I am working way off of camera like a professional. All right, so I cut all of these. I cut an entire board. I'll get to the specifics of the foam core in a minute, but I cut all of these at the 2.5 inch width, which happened to be exactly the width of one of the boards. I had no excess or cut off on that, so that's cool. These I'm going to make an interior wall and an exterior wall, both of which will be textured on the one side. It doesn't need to be textured on both sides because it's going to be sandwiched together for rigidity. Once you take one of those and curve it a little, and then you curve the other one against it and glue it, then they will be fairly sturdy. I was thinking it was going to need a third layer, but I don't think it is. So I need to get to texturing. But first, let's talk about foam core. So I had this. This is the black foam core from the Dollar Tree here in the United States. The paper on this peels off. On the white stuff, super easy. On the black stuff, kinda easy. And once it starts to tear, it gets harder and harder. You want to try to like catch it if it does immediately. As you can see, I did not do a perfect job here because there's little pieces of black paper along the edge. Now, there are some more expensive black foam cores here in the United States that have black foam in between the layers of the paper. I didn't know they had the black foam, and I have like 5 sheets of it in the other room, and I've never used it with the black foam. So that will be a fun experience in future. But for this, I'm using the cheapy stuff. Now, you will notice that when I pulled the paper off of one side, you got this lovely curve. And that is every time you peel it, it does that. It's I don't know if the paper is pushing against it or it's pulling against the paper, however you want to word that. But the curvature, once I peel the other side, that curvature will go away. And then I can curve it where I want, which, as I said, will need to go around this deck. There's a bit more of a point here that I'd really like. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you can. But I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. I'll just kind of glue along this edge and sploop it around, and for technical terms, and I think it'll work. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to texture this one side of it, and for now, by leaving the paper on the back, that lets me know that the textured side will be the side that still has paper. I'm going to do that with all of these over this next coming week. I will not get to any more than maybe one more of these tonight. So we're going to go to texturing this and the deck, but I'm going to start with the deck first just because it's pretty much, it still needs to be peeled. All right, so yeah, glitter, crafting herpes, exactly. All right, so as I have mentioned before on other streams and videos. When you peel this, it gets super staticky. So this has a bit of static, but this has a lot. Sometimes things will, like, the foams will try to stick to each other. Other little bits of fluff will stick. Just patience, deep breaths. So that's where we're at. Now, I need to find what I did with my wire brushes. There they are. Okay. Now, I'm going to use my brass one that I was using the last time I was on video snapped. These are not super strong. There's 3 for $1 from the Dollar Tree. They tend to snap somewhere in this arc every time. So I can go with these steel ones. Oh, I do have one brass one left. The plastic ones, as I've said, won't actually scratch up the foam like we need. So as you can see, I've broken a lot of brass, and these plastic ones are basically garbage. I don't even know why I keep these. Yeah, those don't work for anything. So I've got all my plastic ones because I don't use them, so they don't break. I've got all my steel ones because the brass tends to be strong enough to work on this foam core. So don't tap the foam core. I just left little dents in that. Anyway, so the brass will work in this, but I've got the steel ones because I keep snapping the brass ones. That's why I don't have as many of those. I do have another plastic one. All right. Good. A whole bouquet of those, and don't even want them. All right, and I do also have a much sturdier steel one made out of wood, and a plastic one made out of wood. Why do I have all these plastic stupid brushes? Okay. Alrighty, what was I doing? Right. Texturing. Okay, little guy can sit out of the way. Still don't have a name for him. I'm still calling him a little guy. A little guy. All right, so what we're doing is I want the planks to run the length of the ship. That's typical for ships. They don't typically run across the deck. They run along the deck. So in order to get a wood grain, I am gently taking this and either upright or at a slight angle toward the direction I'm pulling. I want that being. If you angle it the wrong direction, you'll actually dig into the foam core and tear chunks out. So let's not do that. All right. So while I do this, and you don't have to be any kind of perfect with this. This is just Now, if you were doing a wooden deck, like actually out of like ice cream sticks or whichever, you wouldn't be doing this at all. You'd just be gluing wood either on top of the foam core or directly to the cardboard. So yeah. Use the plastic ones to brush your teeth and mustache, but not necessarily. I have toothbrushes as well, but I use those for flicking. I could use these for that. I use them to like flick paint on to get like little speckles in stone or to get blood splatter. And we've just been demonetized because YouTube doesn't think adults should hear words like blood. I'm not monetized to begin with, just so we're all on the same page there. That was pretty much a joke. So once I have that, I need to decide how wide I want my planks to be. I don't care. I'm just going to kind of eyeball that, I guess. I don't actually have any wooden sticks to compare to, so I think I'm just flat out going to eyeball it. Yeah, why not? Let's grab a ruler, or a rule if you're British, or a straight edge if you're graphical or whatever. All right. And of course, the smallest piece I'm going to have is longer than my ruler. Of course it is. So let's grab an actual straight edge instead. Not that one. That's too big. We're going to grab a square just because these are roughly the same height. So that'll work. Is that longer than the... Of course not. Never mind. We're going back to the long straight edge. I didn't like that one anyway. Yeah. Okay, so do I want a board right in the middle, or do I want a gap right in the middle? I think I'm going to put a board in the middle. All right, now I'm going to take that one's a little sharp, actually. I'm going to take a dull pencil. That one's super dull. There's got to be a medium point somewhere. Oh, perfect. And there we go. That's the line between my planks. I'm going to eyeball the other side of that and try to get that pretty straight along there. And there we go. Now, from here on out, I'm just going to try to keep them relatively close to the same width. We have talked about scales several times on my channel. I'm going to talk about it one more time because why not? A lot of times people, eventually I'll be putting like the lines in here so you can tell like where there's planks, and I'll just be doing that again by eyeball. Some people like to like put in little nail holes on each side of that gap. I never do that because in scale, a nail is going to be smaller than this guy's pinky toe. You're not going to see a nail hole. If you do, it's probably rotted and you'd need to replace that lumber anyway. So I just don't. If I was going for something really cartoony or exaggerated, I might, but basically, I just don't. Like I said, I'm eyeballing this. If these, it's the second week in a row I've said these. If this comes out with more planks on one side than the other, I'm not going to sweat that. There's going to be walls built into here and things like that because this is the cargo deck. There's going to be little chambers for keeping things. Like I said, I'm trying to be a little bit realistic with this. So nobody's going to notice if there's 8 boards on one side and 7 on the other. Nobody's going to care about me, and I'm just going to ignore it. So we talked about the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria last week, so I'm not going to do that again. We talked about the bilge last week, so I'm not going to do that. However, last week I said I don't know what poop deck means. I have known, but I have forgotten. So since last week, I have been reminded in a video, not my own, someone else just mentioned it, that poop, apparently P-O-U-P-E, is a French word for aft. It literally means back deck. The fact that people poop off it is neither. Sometimes poop off it. Probably did in the olden days. So personally, I'd go for the more traditional, go in the bucket, dunk the bucket in the ocean on a rope, than trying to hang my tuchus off the deck of a ship. But, to each their seamanly way, I suppose. Yeah. I think I may have accidentally gotten the same number of planks on each side. Whoopsie. I accidentally did something right. Didn't mean to. Okay. So, that's the ship. Now, they did sometimes use some really long boards, but that would make them actually harder to replace if they did break, and there were usually multiple layers, and they were sometimes almost woven together between the different layers because they'd have one that stopped here, and one that stopped here, and one that stopped here, and it would... Anyway, so I'm going to presume these are not going to run the entire length of the ship. However, since I'm building little rooms in here, I think I'm only going to build 6. There'll be 2 walls here, or a wall that cuts all the way across here, and a wall that cuts all the way across here. And I think I could probably get away with not putting in little plank gaps, but I'm just gonna. And I'm absolutely just eyeballing these. I'm gonna, in my head, they're about 3 inches apart. 3 inches is 24 feet. That's still pretty long anyway. According to D&D rules, 3 inches is 15, no, not 24, 12 foot long planks. So that's about right. And like I said, I'm just flat out eyeballing this. I'm not doing this with any type of specificity. So that's probably really boring on camera. So. All right, that's one done. I could probably put one like right there, but I'm not going to make that be a board. Just that little tippy tip. Yeah, but I pushed, Lucy Collected said, put a sharp pencil point or pin to leave a spot that looks like a nail. Yes, but a nail hole is the size of this guy's pupils. And this guy doesn't even have eyes. I would like to point out, paint inside his eye holes. But there's no actual eyeballs in there. I mean, technically there would be, but you know what I mean. So, now boards do not necessarily overlap evenly like people do with bricks. So I'm not going to specifically do that. I'm just going to kind of offset each of these by like a foot. 4 feet, an inch. Because I'm doing 1/48, I'm using inches on some of the stuff and metric on others. I'm sorry, y'all gonna have to deal with that. I do both. I'm bi-measuremental. What'd you do? Well, watch the guy draw little lines on a thing. Was it fun? No. That's why I try to keep talking the entire time, because otherwise it gets really boring. This one's just longer than I like, but I'm not going to bother putting a line on it. And I am very intentionally making this asymmetrical as I go. So the other side is going to have their marks at different lengths. I am sort of going to match. This one's off of the center one by this much. I'm going to put the next one off by like the same amount, so that it's as if the boards are the same length. It's very difficult for me to be super freehandy with stuff like this, because I was a carpenter for 15 years. And so parts of me are like, do it right. And parts of me are like, do it like they would have done in the 1400s. Which is also right, but right in a different way. Yep, got quiet again. Just said I wasn't going to get quiet and got quiet. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, that's half of the boat done. Half of the one deck of the boat done. So, what we say, 6 decks technically, because the poop and forecastle are one, and then there's the main. Anyway, I'm not going to do the math on how much ship I have accomplished tonight. All right, so this was my center line, so we're going to draw there. That seems good. Then off of that one, we're going to make that give or take 3 inches in here. So that's going to be about middle of that board. Plank on a board, it's a plank. Middle of that plank. Middle of that plank. Alrighty. It's going to match up with that line pretty well. Actually, we're going to do it just shy. Nope, just past it. Do that one there. And then just past it. So that one's going to be, make sure I'm on the correct plank here. That's this one, and you want to go just off of that. So that's there. And then halfway between those two. Halfway between those two. Halfway between those two. Only one more, I think. Up there. And there. Nope, 2 more. And we'll just cut that one there. And that leaves this tiny little strip over here. So I didn't get the same amount on each side. Whatever, don't care. I mean, I do care. I actually wanted it this way. Okay, so now this piece is going to sit here. And then I'm going to wrap the inner deck around this. However, I haven't patterned the inner deck yet, so we're going to do that. I am, rather than work with this big long strip of foam, I am going to take roughly what I need. Will 1/2 of this do it? No, but I can use that other piece later. So what we are going to do is we are going to use funky, weird, silly, fudging the geometry tricks. I'm going to take this. I'm going to start at an inch mark. I'm going to start at 8. I'm going to roll it thusly. And it is going to come out to not quite 22. So I'm going to cut it 22. For those of you who are doing the math, that's 14 inches. This, I believe, is more than 28 inches, but I'm going to go at 8. start at 8 and go to 22 and use that as my cutting mark. I'm going to use this random straight edge I got here because it's smaller than the other metal one. And put that there. And grab my knife again, which I still haven't sharpened since last week. Yeah, but I got through it in one pass, so that's one fine. All right, so that should be long enough. And 'tis exactly the right length. That is perfecto. Okay, so is the other one longer than it? Yes! Excellent. I am not going to cut that short. You'll see why in a bit. But I do need to go ahead and texture this one. Let me read the window real quick. Yeah, exactly. They put 3 of the brushes in the packs, and these plastic ones just end up. Sadly, these will probably just end up in the landfill. I have zero use for these. Everything I clean with a brush uses a bigger brush than this. I have no use for these. These are just garbage. Sucks. All right. Toothbrushes are great for splatter effects. Yes, you can speckle a figure with them using brown, black, purple, or blue. Yep. Or green. Get that weird, ugly green and say they've been attacking the hobgoblins or bugs or something. Works on great on big monsters. Push a sharp pencil pen. Yep. Okay, so you've covered all of the bases there. All right, there's my wood grain with the wire brush across it. This is super unimportant because nobody's ever going to see this because this is going to be inside a ship with walls in the way. No one's going to pay any attention to this. And here we go. Let's put the wood grain on it because why not? Again, eyeballing this, not trying to get it any specific width. I'm getting it close to what I did for the deck, so it's going to be somewhat near those, but whatever. I am trying to get it a little bit aligned with the edge here. I don't think anybody else answered me about whether they're crafting or anything tonight. Anybody else crafting? Or are we all just hanging out watching me be silly? Which is fine. I'm all about that. That's literally why I'm here. I'm here to be silly for people's entertainment and to hopefully encourage people that if they've been thinking about making miniature stuff, to go ahead and do it. Whether it's for gaming, you just like miniature cutesy stuff, whatever. Then I would like to think that if you suddenly go, I can do it, and you go and do it, I would like to know that I helped in that. And you don't have to come back and tell me or anything. I just like to, oh, wow, I got that totally crooked. Whatever. They were drunk the day they built the ship. It's all fine. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. So, like I said, I'm here to entertain and inspire. I'm not trying to, there's not a quiz. There's not any, whatever. Oh, there is kind of a quiz. A couple weeks ago, I asked if anybody knew the angle that American stairwells are generally built to. I realize that's sort of an ambiguous question because it's literally generalities, but for anybody who was paying attention, it's 37.5 degrees. I said I would say it on my Discord, but nobody came and asked there, so I figured anybody who had, cared at the time, now you know. It's 37.5 degrees. It is steep enough that you get up the stairs when you need to, but it's shallow enough that you don't trip over your own feet trying to do it. So there you go. Again, I'm going with about 3 inches. And I'm not being in any way, shape, or form specific about this. In fact, these timbers would be offset from the ones on the outside of the ship specifically so that they didn't meet up at the same places and create a weak point. So I'm literally not carrying on this because I don't think anybody, even myself, is going to look inside the ship and then outside the ship to see if the seams are at the same spot on that same plank. I would like to think no one would care that much. I mean, one thing to be a little bit picky if you're playing like games for tournament play and all that, but that's too much. That's too much. if you are worried about whether or not the planks match on a thing like this, you need a hobby that involves like counting or quality assurance as a hobby. I don't know if that's a thing, but you know, at some point, you got to pull the stick out. Take that however you feel. You know what I mean? But your things are not exactly the same. You are correct. They're not exactly the same. This is really fun because y'all can't see what I'm doing, but that's all right. I'm a professional. Almost done with this side, and then we can glue it on. Probably should turn on my hot glue gun for that. In addition to having it, I found out that my power strip that's over yonder that turns on, I thought it turned on with my lights, so that when my main lights came on or went off, it turned that off so it would turn off my hot glue gun. And I found out that since I rearranged a bunch of stuff a while back, it doesn't do that anymore. So I have now started to teach myself to remember to turn off that power strip individually. And I also have installed a separate switch on the cord, one of those old style rolly switches that's probably totally not up to OSHA. So that I can turn off the hot glue gun itself. So I have now gotten into the quote unquote habit of forgetting to, I don't know why I'm texturing the bottom of that. That's going to be the bottom. Okay, that one's it. The bottom strip of this, you will not need to put plank markings on because that's getting glued to the deck. And it's not only getting glued to the deck, it's getting glued to the deck a bit up from the bottom and will be totally hidden. So you don't have to stress yourself over that bottom one. In this case, I got mine a little crooked. It's really narrow at one end and wider. That's going to be, no one will ever see it. So now this is going to get glued like this all the way around. At the front, I have two options. And at the bow and the aft, I have two options. I can extend this a little bit out, trim it off to fit exactly this line coming out, and then with the longer piece coming around after, cover that space. Or I can leave it at not quite 45 degrees and have it come right to the end and have the other one do it, which is going to leave a very small gap into which I can put like a round skewer or chopstick or something like that. And I think I am going to do that. It is going to make my bow a little bit weaker for a moment until I get the other stuff put on it, but I will live with that. But before I get to that, since I'm still waiting on the gun to heat up, I am going to do this to this other piece I haven't gotten to yet. Now, I have realized that my next decks are all going to be longer than this. So unfortunately, they are going to take 2 strips of this each to make the gunnels, the walls of the ship, the hull. But why I buy the $1.25 a sheet foam core. I will always use these other offcuts for other things. And so that is not going to be a big deal. Now, you don't want to start from the same spot and go this way and then this way because you'll end up with like a big burr right here. So I try to go across that and I try to start here and here. And just basically, you don't want to create a grain across the grain. Okay, now, see if I can get this one a little straighter than the last one. I'm going to mark this before I do it. That looks good. 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 And that looks good. What did I do? 7 marks? Yeah. So I'm going to start in the middle and make 3 per side. That one's right at that black part. The paper didn't quite come off. Okay. And I'm not trying to get this super specific, but that last one, like I said, I think this guy was drunk when he built the ship. So we're going to do this again. The reason I am interested in trying that darker foam core is that this stuff always blasts out the camera whenever you first bring it in. You probably saw me do it there. And then it takes a while to focus on the white. And if it's just a solid white with no surface on it, it's like looking at a field of snow. So I am interested in whether that foam core from the other foam, whether the foam within the other foam core is actually black or dark gray, in which case I will be much happier with that. But that stuff's $4 a sheet, so I don't necessarily want my cost to go up by 4. So to cost 4 to go up by 3, you know what I mean. Maths is hard. Let's go shopping. I been talking about this live stream with a friend of mine, and I told him what I should do is sing sea shanties the whole time I'm doing this. And he's like, well, first off, I've heard you sing. I'm like, well, fair. That's fair. And he goes, second, you probably get a copyright strike. I'm like, for songs that are older than our country? He's like, yeah, you know how YouTube is. So no singing. Y'all got off easy. My singing's horrible. It really is. Mrs. Lynn's heard me sing. You can ask her. I'm enthusiastic about it, though. When I'm singing, woohoo, yeah, belt it out. And then people are like, can you belt it back in a little? That'd be awesome. You know what I could use to measure? I'm not going to measure this, but you know what I could use to measure this? I do have a bajillion dungeon tiles. And I make all my dungeon tiles on 3-inch increments, either 3 inches, 6 inches, or 9 inches. So I could use a 3-inch dungeon tile and measure this, but I'm not. No measuring for me today. Waha, waha, waha. All right. So that was a little wonky. So what? I mean, short board within the ship. This one's even shorter. Shh, don't tell. That guy Cross will get all upset if he realizes his boards are wonky. That is a lie. That guy Cross will not care. I used to really get picky about all that sort of stuff, and at some point I just realized, you know what? I don't give a fig Newton. I wouldn't give a fig Newton either. I really like those. Don't want to get on my good graces. I like fig cookies. Fig cookies are good. My grandparents managed to bring some figs back from Sicily, I think, someplace much warmer, and installed them. I don't know if that's the right word for trees, but in South Texas at our family's cabin that they had for a gajillion years. But at some point, and they lived for like 60 or 70 years, but I guess nobody else in my family really cares about it. They're all like, yep, stuff happens. Storm came through. A single storm took out all 4 fig trees, and they weren't even in the same part of the yard. I am super cheesed off about that. But I never used to be able to find that species of fig, and I couldn't figure out why. And I figured out later, oh, well, they don't grow in America normally. But I have found out what species it is now. And at some point, I will be able to fig myself because I can order those because we live in a world where we can order things online, politics notwithstanding. So, but Fignewtons, I like a Fignewton. So if you want to get me a cookie or a biscuit, if you are Britishy, with which I will be happy, get me a figgy cookie. Which reminds me of the Christmas Carol where they say, "Bring me a figgy pudding," and Miss Piggy goes, "Did you say piggy pudding?" They're like, "No, figgy pudding made with figs." She's like, "Oh, well, good." And then they Scooter this and bacon. What? Nothing. I have had figgy pudding. I've had several kinds of figgy pudding. None of them have had bacon in them. They've had ham, but not the cut that would be called bacon. So figgy pudding has ham, just so you know. That's a thing. Rambling as I build a boat. Ship. It's not a boat. It's a ship. Do you know what makes a difference between a boat and a ship? Literally comes down to, is it intended to haul cargo with? If it's intended to haul cargo with, it's a ship. Otherwise, it's a boat. Apparently. But every time I say that, some people go, "That's not right because blah." But I've heard that like 4 or 5 places, and I've never heard any of the alternatives more than one place. So, to the best of my knowledge, that's why. Okay, so at this point, my gun should be warmed up. So we've got the goopies from the gun, and I am going to run a bead along here. Woo, a big old bead. Didn't need that much. Oh well, got it there now. I'll make sure that I'm putting my downside down, and I'm going to put that right against that edge and roll that along there, which I'm sure is super exciting for y'all, but I have no way to do this where y'all can see it because I am too right-handed to show y'all right now. So I am holding that in place. The hot glue has not congealed yet, so it's still trying to get away from me. I'm doing this in stages, so I've only glued about as far as my finger is here. And I will show y'all this as soon as it grabs. Which is seeming to take a while. Oh, I had the hot glue set to hot so it would heat up faster. It's now set to low, but it hasn't cooled off. That's why this is taking so long. Sorry about that, y'all. Yes, well, it wasn't transplant. Planted, I guess, is the right word, but you know, in an area and biome and region it was not designed for. So, you know, I also have the impression that those figs may not have, under current well, what was current law until, you know, beginning of the year, under current regulations, I'm sure that those particular trees would not have been allowed to be brought in the way my grandparents did them. I am pretty much positive my grandfather on my other side brought them for him when he went one of his many trips to Europe. And so he probably just grabbed them while he was like, it was an island. I know it was an island. It was Sicily or Cyprus or Malta or someplace. I don't think it was Malta. I don't know if Malta has figs. Malta has a large quantity of potatoes, which is, I find wonderful because, you know, super duper Irish descended, and, you know, I've never met a potato I didn't like. But I don't know if they have figs. It's kind of a sad reason that Malta has potatoes, and that's because like everybody and their dog has tried to take over their island, which is kind of rude, but there it is. Okay, so I have glued that much of my deck on. This inside piece, once the hull is in place, the inside part will get a small nick cut out of it in 2 places on both sides. And when I build my walls across, I will build a little notch that will nestle into that nick. I will nestle my nick notch. I will nestle my nick nub into the notch. Something. I don't know. Okay, so I'm wanting to keep this fairly level, so I'm going to keep this like this. I'm going to apply some glue and then hold it like this. Y'all might actually be able to see that because I can hold that one to my left hand this time. Maybe. I get the glue on it. Okay. I don't know how I'm going to do this. There we go. All right. Now the glue should be a little cooler now because I have turned it from hot to low, high to low. Get rid of that little strand there at the end. I'll take this here, press that flat, and by flat I mean hypothetically level. And we will take the deck, hold that in place. I got a little long. That's good. Long is better than short. All right, now we're literally watching glue dry. What'd you do tonight? Oh, watch glue dry. Oh, you watching that guy Crosskin? Yeah, he's always, making us watch glue dry. I know all of the words for all of the timbers that hold all of this stuff in place, but I'm not giving you that lesson. If y'all want, I can show y'all some links on the Discord, but for right now, just know that the hull sticks to the deck. We're good there. Mrs. Lynn says, it covers my ability to not be able to carry a tune even if I had a bucket. Yeah, my comment used to be, I can't carry a tune even in a double knit bag, but that's because I grew up in the 70s and no kids alive today know what double knit is. God. Little known fact, double knit fabrics are responsible for many murders and there are many deaths in the 70s. It's true fact. Static electricity shock. Dead. Went to the disco, came out toast. Staying alive, staying alive. Not tonight, buddy. Ow! I probably think about polyester fabrics far more than is really genuinely required for the job of existing. Okay, so as I said, I got this piece a little bit long, but I want to put that piece at the front that's got that little round thing. I think I'm going to do that front and rear just because. As I go up, the other decks won't come to this teardrop shape. The other decks will have a little bit flat spot, so it'll actually be 3 round parts, 1 at the front and 2 at the back on each one of those, and I think it'll end up looking good. I only decided that tonight, and I'm just going to kind of roll with it. So for now, I need to basically cut this off 90 degrees to itself right at this back end edge. Now, I last week did not quite get this full. Once I have this completed, like this next part on here, I am going to try to fit a tiny little triangle in there, I think. Or I may not care. I don't know. I may just not care. Because it's all of this is going to get slapped with a coat of dark brown base coat, and then some lighter coats and everything. That's going to hide. Nobody's going to see that in the shadows. Y'all going to promise me not to tell anybody that's there. Okay, cool? Cool. Good. Right. I need to take the oldie knife again. This time I am going to sharpen it while I've got a moment. I don't know what this is going to sound like to the microphone. This is the rough side. I don't really need the rough side. It also has a smoother side. That's all I'm doing. I'm really kind of honing the blade. That's all it takes. About 8 or 10 swipes like that. Good to go. Now, I'm going to, as I said, 90 degrees to this, so just straight into it. And I'm just going to follow this line across. Wow. That's tougher than I expected. All right. Now we can do the other side. Yeah, once I put that other piece on there and hide that, that's going to be so hidden, I'm not going to bother with that piece. I'm just going to hope the paint covers it. And if the paint doesn't cover it, I'm going to pretend the paint covers it. This is still a little pointy thing right here. That's just irritating me. I don't really have any reason to take that off. But OCD, anal retentiveness. Okay, now, again, I'm putting this on this to keep it level and flat so that I don't end up bending it down or up and getting wonky decks. I am going to push that part under there so that I don't glue my wall to it. I'm only doing this front part first. I'm going to show you putting the glue on, but after that, I'm not going to be able to show you the sticking the wall on because literally my hand's going to be in the way. This is all we're doing is feed glue along here all the way to that pointy point I don't like, but it is being useful for this. Then we're going to take this and this, and we're going to start right at that edge so that I can put that round piece in here. And that's it. That's it. Now we're just waiting for the thing to cool, which shouldn't take as long this time because it wasn't on as high a temperature. It should grab much, much quicker this time. So I have noticed a bunch of people lately, Trent from Miscast kind of started a trend. A bunch of people are doing this like daily vlog thing as they go. Yeah, I am not going to be doing that. I don't actually get down here every day. However, at least twice a week, every week, and 3 times this week, I have sat right in this chair where I'm at right now with this camera on just like it is now in the Discord, and no one's come in. I was live for like 4 hours while I was cutting all those tiles I showed earlier, and nobody came in. So just know, maybe during what would be, excuse me, East Coast weekday afternoons, I may be hanging out here cutting, crafting, doing stuff. So if y'all ever want to hang out, feel free to drop by. Okay, so somehow, because as ever, I didn't quite manage to get that perfectly accurate, and one of those is taller than the other, and you know what? I don't care. I literally don't care. I used to get so nitpicky and worried about stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's not that. I don't care. I literally don't care. Okay, so then I'm going to bring this one around here, and then same thing, I'm going to cut it off to match at the back end once it's done. So I'm going to put some glue along in here. Wow, it's much easier on this side. On that other side, I couldn't get in there at all, but that's because I'm so right-handed, I couldn't do it left-handed. Wow. That was much better than much more well done than I expected. Usually I get a little stupid with stuff like that, but I did not. That one stayed pretty much where I wanted it. Okay. And, oh, come on. The underneath piece is being a pain. The plinth I have it sitting on. There we go. Push that out of the way. And now let's push the glue back in before it gets too cold. Now, once this is all done, and I have this ready to go, I am going to go back underneath the boat and ship. It's a ship, not a boat. And run another bead of glue at the bottom just to make sure that it stays really well. But let's make sure that this stays at all first. This part right here, there's going to be a little gap here at the top. There's going to be another layer on the outside of this. There will be a little divot there. I can come back in and fill that with glue. I can glue a piece of paper all the way along the edge. I could put a strip of tape. I don't know how I'm going to fix that, if I'm even going to bother. But my best guess is I'm going to fill it with hot glue and just rub the gun across the top until it smooths out. So, all right, now, again, I want to take this, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. All right. Yeah, that's going to be fun. So what I need to do is keep this 90 degrees to the piece of, I almost call it drywall, foam core, and cut a straight line across here. And yeah, there's not an easy way to do that, so I am just, oh, I screwed that up. That's all right. It will all be hidden by the time it gets that other piece of wood in there. And this one's a little wider than I expected, so I'm probably going to end up using a rounded chopstick because they're actually sort of oval and a little bit wider. And that will be the back of my boat. Ship. It's a ship, not a boat. These will get used somewhere else, I'm sure. But that's the interior of most of the cargo deck of my ship. We are just over 8 o'clock, so it's been an hour of me babbling about these walls. I am going to very quickly build another texture, another one of these pieces, and see if I can't. This one I know that I'm pretty much good shape, so I'm going to cut this in half because I don't want to be working on that big long piece of foam. So I'm going to cut this in half, which is 6 to not quite 36. Okay, what is this? Wow, that's really strange. It's exactly a multiple of 5 wide, but the length is, or of inches wide, but the length is not. Okay, so let's actually measure from 0 to not quite 30. So we're going to slide that a little, and we're going to cut it on the 15 mark. And we are going to use my little false straight edge, get it close enough. Okay, there's that, and it didn't cut all the way through. That's because I had 2 layers of paper. All right, now here's what I was saying about peeling this black foam core. I'm going to start here and see if it wants to peel the whole way. Nope, it's already coming loose. Like I said, this can be a little more difficult to get off, but there are 3 ways to deal with that. 1, don't care, just work around it. The little pieces of black that are left on it, you can just not care. Or you can spray it with wet water, which is part isopropyl and part water. I don't have any wet water right here, but or you can just spray it with regular water and wait. It'll soak straight into this paper, and the paper will start to look, it'll look wet, and then it won't look wet. It will look dampened as the water soaks in. And once the water soaks in, wait about 10 to 20 seconds, then it should peel off fairly easily. You don't have to worry about getting the foam wet because, well, it's foam. It's not going to actually get wet. So either of those methods will work, or you can just be careful and diligent and do it this way. But it can still get away from you and start to tear in. If it does, you can just try to catch it quickly, or you can just, not care. I used to collect all these little pieces of paper because I wanted to use them for different things, but I have so much paper, and these will go fine in the recycling, so I don't collect the paper anymore. As I said, it's automatically going to curve when you do it. Don't worry about that. There's 80 different ways to straighten that out. It's all good. All right, so grab this one again. Now this one I grabbed. I don't know how to say this. There's a front side and a back side. One side's got the way these are cut at the factory, they're slight curved off. This one I started with the curve off up, and this one I started with the curve off down. One side will be easier to peel than the other. It looks like it's this side. This side's the easy side. Okay. Alrighty, now again with the wood graining. So this is simple. In case you missed it the first time earlier in the video, any wire brush can be steel or brass. The plasticky ones are junk and don't really work for this. So you take that and you just carefully drag that through. In this case, the brass seems to be doing a less ugly job of it, but it really won't matter. Now, this is going to be the outside of the ship, so I want it to look a little presentable, but it won't matter once you've drawn all the planks and all that type of stuff on it. Okay, so that's that one with the brush. I'm going to do all the brushing at once. Again, you don't want to start right where you started the last time because you'll end up with a weird mark across there. It wouldn't be weird on one board, but if it's all the way across all of your planks, it'll look very strange. So start at different spots, but just draw. You don't want to draw with this bristles, I almost call them spears, with the bristles toward the direction you're going because you will cut little holes in your foam. You want to start straight upright, which can make a deeper grain, but will sometimes also tear out, or you want to start it where it's trailing the bristles, which is what I usually do. Okay, now, again, I wanted these planks to not be like my first one where I looked like I was a bit inebriated, so we're going to take this and we're going to mark these. I'm wanting one mark in the middle. I decided 8 planks per looked pretty good on this. So I'm going to put one there, and then I'm going to put 3 more marks here. Oops. Well, I'm going to try to make 3 more marks here. Apparently I screwed all that up. Let's more thoroughly mark my marks so that I know what I'm doing when I flip it around to draw with the straight edge. 1 mark in the middle. And then 3 that way. 3 that way. 1 mark in the middle. 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 Each time. And do that on the other side. I'm hoping to get one of these attached to the outside before I have to let y'all go tonight, but that may not happen, and that is okay. Okay. Now, I like to use the other one to support the back of my straight edge so it doesn't try to tip up and away from me, so I'm sliding both of them here, but I'm only going to do one board at one foam core board at a time. Slide that a little closer, slide that a little farther. Make sure that's on the board I'm marking on. And yep, I didn't get these particularly even, but nobody's going to care. Here's the thing. If you're worried about specificity in these builds, and you're worried about precision in these builds, if you're actually building these to game with, and you show up at on game night, and these things are ready to go, and you plunk it down, people are like, oh, curl a freaking ship. They are absolutely not going to give a damn if all of your planks are even. And if they do, maybe they can build the next one, yeah? They will appreciate the fact that you showed up with a friggin', I'm just going to say it, pirate ship ready to go. Because everybody that sees this is going to be like, ooh, pirate ship. They're not all pirates, but everybody that sees this is going to be like, ooh, pirate ship. Now, this is for ocean going. Not to toot my own horn some more, but as y'all, I'm sure, are tired of hearing by now, I am writing a role-playing game. And in my role-playing game, I am writing several worlds. But in one of them, there are flying ships. Here's the fun thing. The way they are propelled does not require sails. So they actually are not going to look like this. I will have surface ships in some of my worlds, and maybe even that one as well. But there will also be flying ships, and they are going to look somewhere between a dirigible and a Flash Gordon 1940s black and white space rocket Ajax. Because they will be driven by internal magical crystals that push/pull the ship along and all of that. So why am I building a ship with it? I don't know. I built some docks and I built some dinghies, so why not build a big honking ship, right? Think about one more line like this, and then I can get to the planking. What'd you do the other night? Oh, we watched Cross build some stuff he's not going to use. Why? I don't know. Okay, I know this is, give or take, 15 inches long. Is that what I said? 15? That's right. So I know that I can get, if I'm doing the 3-inch planks like this, I can get however many per. But I'm not going to. I'm going to build these on 6-inch planks because the outer hull would have different lengths than the interior hull. They would actually be made out of a different kind of lumber, etc. So I am going to draw these at about 6 inches for the first one. I normally don't bother to measure, but I am going to for this just to get myself going, and from that point on I will not. Okay. 6 inches on my scale is 24 feet. It would be 30 feet in D&D scale. Because theirs is 1 inch equals 5 feet, and mine is 1 inch equals 4 feet. And so that's the length of my exterior planks. And now I'm just gonna kind of go from there. And these I am gonna pretty much match up, because these would be different than the interior, and I'm just gonna go with that because that stops me having to do a whole bunch of measuring and ending up with weird little short stubby bits at the end. So I know I said I wasn't gonna make it look like brickwork earlier, but now I kind of am. Y'all can't see what I'm doing, so it doesn't matter to y'all at all. I get that. So, anybody else here working on any worlds for their game? Settings for their game? I'm old school, so I'm going to say the word modules for the game. I don't think, what do they call it now? Adventures? Whatever. I think that ought to be done. Really? Because that one's less than 6 inches, yeah? Yeah, that's only 5 inches. All right, we're done. We're done. That was easy. That was stupid easy. All right, let's just continue that across the other plank here, or thingamy. The other deck worth of hull. That sounds like a pompous lord's name. I'm Lord Deckworth of Hull. Got that underbite like that guy in Family Guy. That guy never laughed like that. He laughs, but he doesn't laugh like that. That was almost the Penguin from Batman, the original, 1960s Burgess Meredith Penguin. Batman. All right, I'm old. I told y'all. All right, so I got those ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is take this and peel it off the outside. And on this, I don't care if there's some black paper left on it, because this is all about to be hidden completely inside. And so I say that and it peels off like a dream. Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? I'm going to leave this one on here just for rigidity's sake until this is done. Need to do the same thing on here. If you glue it together with the paper to the paper, or even the paper to the foam, the paper itself can let go from the glue on the inside. So I find it just easier to do away with the paper. And see, it starts to do this number. That's fine. I'm not that worried about it. I'm going to sort of try to work around that, but I'm not that worried about it because that's all going to be hidden inside. All right, now, again, I don't want to use high temp glue for two reasons. One, it takes forever to congeal up, and two, it can melt the foam. So I'm working with the gun set to low temp, and I am going to start one little line here just to get it going. And I want that right on the edge there. And I want to take this. It doesn't matter which side's up or down. Literally just doesn't matter. I think I'm going to put the longer pieces at the bow. That's the front. And I'm going to squish those together there. And that's going to leave some squidge out. Just wipe that up. Now, with a hot glue instead of a low temp glue, that would hurt a lot more. Well, one more reason to use low temp instead of high temp. So here we go. Now, I do recommend getting a glue gun with the switchable temps where it's got both available to you. It'll just make your life easier. Okay, now I'm going to follow this around. Wow, this is not the same width either. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little gap and a lip here. That's not going to matter. Once I set the other deck on top of it, it literally flat won't matter. I may come back, since this one's taller than either this or this, I may come back and gently and carefully trim off that extra layer, or I may not. I literally may just not care. All right, now, this is going to be tricky to get in here without creasing the I keep wanting to call this drywall, the foam core, but I am going to try to get in here. I am going to try to get a bead near the top and a bead near the bottom and some in the middle-ish, sort of. I'm only going again to this curvy spot, and let's get that done. That's the top, and bottom, and let's splub some in the middle. Splub is a technical term. It's often used in the industry by everybody named Cross. Okay, and you don't really want to align it the way I am here unless you are absolutely certain that you've got the bottom aligned correctly, because you don't want it to get off to where your layers don't line up correctly. And since this glue is squidging out the top, and that's going to be harder to cut with the knife if I came back, I think I'm just going to leave that, which I was kind of leaning toward anyway. There's going to be a lot of, it's good enough in this build, because it really will. It'll come out looking fantastic when it's all said and done. Underwater setting for you understand based on video game plays. Oh yeah, Subnautica. That's I've watched a lot of not a lot, several playthroughs of Subnautica, so, or let's plays or whatever. So that sounds fun. I like the how do I word this? It has the right amount of fetch quest survival mode to me to keep me interested, without me going, oh my god, I gotta go find yet another piece of whatever ore. So Subnautica seems very fun. It seems like they balanced the having to find things with doing things with what you find aspects really well. So, all right, now I am going to take this and run a line all the way down the bottom, all the way down the top, and splooge it into my ship, because why not? And I missed a spot, so let's go back and get that. And then a little in the middle as well. And get that there, and hold that long enough to take, so to speak. Hold that in place while it does the thing. As Craftnix used to say when he had his channel, I mean, he still got his channel, but he never posts anymore, but let the glue do what it do. All right. He's usually talking about white glue when he says it, but you get the idea. All right, so that's it. Now, as you can see, this wall is still kind of flimsy, but once it's got that second layer, it's much, much sturdier. And once I get those two other pieces in here, where I'm going to have those two dividers for the cargo, it's going to be much, much sturdier, because that little bit of flex will also be gone. Plus, every bit of paint you add to this will take out that much more flex and make it that much more rigid, and will all be good. And it's also reflexing a little because the ends aren't done. So once I attach that front piece, that whatever I end up using at the front, that will make that look better. Meanwhile, all I've got left on this side is to follow this one along and take that off. And this deck is 2/3 done, or 3/4 done. I still got to come across this side here, which I am going to let y'all go because it's getting close to that time. So I'm going to come along and attach that other piece right after I get off the thing with you, and both of these will be done. So let me know kind of now, or you can come by the Discord and let me know. Let me know if you are wanting to see me build the cross pieces in here, because I'll be doing some of that on the next deck up, which is the quarter deck. That's where the people have what's where the crewmen will have their berths. Or if you want to see me build those walls in, I am more than happy to leave it till next week to build those walls in if you want, or I can build them in and have them ready to go next week and just start on the next deck. So let me know either in the thing now, or let me know in the Discord over the week. So link to the Discord is in the down below down there. And let me switch this light off and then switch to that camera, and I will sign off for the evening. Alrighty. That's good to go there. And alrighty. Switch to the front. Oh, I forgot. I have patrons. Thank you to all of them. DC is Digital Calibrator. DC came over and helped me with some stuff the other day about the role-playing game, but has also helped me with the audio and video. So thank them for that. Patrick Walther, longtime supporter of the channel, really appreciate it. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. Lisa and Kim from Questboard Terrain and Carl from Carl Makes Stuff have started a channel where they interview people live on Wednesdays. So Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, catch, what is it called? We're Flocking With You? I think it's called We're Flocking With You. If not, I will happily give you the links on the Discord. Come get me. Or you can go to Carl Makes Stuff's Discord or Lisa's Discord and ask. There's links to Lisa's Discord in the down belows. So you can go to one of those and get their announcements for that. All right. Solo Nick has 2 channels. One is Solo Nick, where he does stuff like paint minis and things like that, and one called Climbing Moss, where he does things like his out and about videos, where he like goes to visit places. He's been to Korea, he's been to Japan, he's been all over. He lives in England, he's been all over London and all that. He's done some concert. Like, here we're at a concert. Here's check out some of the footage. Really cool stuff over in there. So 2 channels for Solo Nick, and then there's Mia Geek. Mia Geek plays has a Discord as well, and is a member of Shadows of Arconia, who does Twitch streams where they play various different types of games, and so those are fun to watch. So check out Mia Geek if you need Mia Geeks. You need Mia's Discord link. I can get you that as well. If you need, otherwise you can go to Twitch and look up Shadows of Arconia and look for whenever Mia's playing. All right, so let me switch to the front, and then I will sign the heck off. Okay, so that's it. We have worked on the first part of my ship. As I've said before, ships are sort of teardrop shaped, not really. Well, I need to put some extra. It doesn't matter. I'll fix that in a minute. So the next deck will be a little bit wider than this. It will come out to about here and back a little bit longer, and we'll have a bit. It will have a flat back. The next one above it will have a wider back and be a little bit longer. The whole ship's going to end up being 18 to 20 inches, somewhere in there, before I add the bowsprit. So working on that. There will be 2 walls here. Above them, in the next deck, there will be a gap, and that gap will be so that they can lower cargo into it. This is the cargo deck for the stores deck for the long-term things. This will be like the, anyway, come to the Discord if you want to find out how ships work. So there'll be a quarter deck. That's literally the quarters on the next one. So there'll be little bunks and stuff like that. I have no idea how I'm going to be making like hammocks and mattresses and things like that. So we'll figure that out as we go. Above that, there will be the cargo deck that will actually have the things that they'll take in and out when they go to port. So things for sale. But there's a gap that goes all the way through so that they can lower goods all the way to the bottom or into the cargo deck or whichever. So I've got to figure out how to build all that. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. It's an adventure. Yeah, so come back for that. This is Campaign Terrain. I'm your host, That Guy Cross. I just kind of hang out and have a chill time every Sunday night, technology willing. And I'm just hoping to inspire some people. If you make any kind of miniature anything, whether it's for gaming, whether it's for doll houses, whether it's just to have miniature stuff, we're all in this together. And I want you to know that I love you. And until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, whether that's in real life or on the table. Thanks for coming to Campaign Terrain, and you have a great night. Thanks.